welcome to Cannabis and Tech Talks. My name is Patricia Miller, Associate Editor here at Cannabis and Tech Today. Today, we have a very special interview with cultural icon and famed cannabis legend, Tommy Chong. Anyone who's followed cannabis is familiar with Tommy's work in, of course, Cheech and Chong, That 70s Show, and tons of cameos. This was very special for me. I was thrilled to speak with the legend himself and learn how he likes to smoke, what he's learned about the cannabis now that it's legal, and how he feels he's impacted cannabis culture over the many years he's been involved in the industry. So without further ado, here's Tommy Chong.
Hello.
Hi, Tommy. This is Trish with Cannabis and Tech.
Hi, Trish.
Hi. How was your flight?
Incredible.
Good.
It's been better.
Nice. Are you getting back to LA or?
No. We're in Moncton, New Brunswick, getting ready to do a comedy show here.
Oh, how cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's Shelby and I are doing this one.
Nice. Well, is it a good time to talk for a few?
It's a perfect time.
Beautiful. Well, I'm a big fan. I'm really excited to hear your voice and talk to you myself. I've been watching you for a long time. I'm sure you hear that a lot.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious. I know for a long time, the joint was kind of the preferred way to get high. Now that there are so many other options for token up, what's your preferred method?
I prefer, the flower, the pipe. I prefer the pipe. I've got a few favorites. I got one called the Easy Pipe. It's a combination lighter in a bowl that you can fill up with just an individual amount. And now there's also another pipe that Israeli scientists discovered. And I for the life of me, they got my name on it and everything. I can't think of the name, but it's Israeli and it's a cooling. It has a cooling system, but it's also a pipe. And then I have my own Chong Nada pipes, which they're necklaces, and I've been making them ever since I got busted for selling paraphernalia. And that's why I call it Nana pipes.
Oh, like na in your face?
Like, well, yeah, Nana pipe. No, not N-O-T, not a pipe.
Oh, I got it. I like that.
Yeah. And then I'll do a bong now and then, but yeah, I like the flame against the fire, the flower, flame against the flower, the old way.
Yeah, that's still my favorite way too. I know you've gotten a chance to see so much cool technology with coming out with Chong's Choice brand. Is there any smoking tech that's been particularly impressive to you?
Well, yeah, all the vape pens, the Chong, we've been really going through the vetting process, with the vape pens, and then the dabbing is still pretty popular. I guess with people that are used to, getting lots of powerful THC in their lungs, but in the old joint, that you can't ignore the joint.
Right.
It's been our mainstay, and it's like a communal thing. I've even got a special way of smoking it, so you don't have to put your lips on someone else's lips.
Oh, how do you do that?
Well, I stick the joint between my little finger and my hand. The little finger,
mm-hmm.
and then I cut my hands, and that way you inhale and you get a lot of smoke and a little air. It's like a carburetor too.
Oh.
And so you can't do that with a joint, with a roach. You'll burn the hell out of you. But with the big joint, you can do that. And I've done it on TV a few times. And an old friend of mine in Vancouver taught me that method, and it's good to this day.
Nice. I might try that tonight.
Okay.
So
you're fuzzy where you put your lips, right?
I am a little bit. I guess
Good.
I'm a little germophobic when it comes to smoking, but usually after the first hit, you kind of forget that you care. So
Don't you? Isn't that the truth? You're picking them off the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you mentioned your felony conviction earlier, and I know that can create some hurdles when you're working in the cannabis business. Has that impacted your ability to do business?
Well, no, it's actually inspired us to keep me protected. I was protected before, but my family wasn't. And so, they couldn't have touched me, but they threatened to go after my wife and my son. And, that's a United States government, so I had to give up. But, no, I'm not, it works in my favor. I was offered a pardon by Obama, but I decided that to accept a pardon would be to admit my guilt. That's the way I looked at it, And so I turned the pardon down, just basically on moral grounds, because I don't mind having, being tagged as the guy that went to jail for a bong, especially now that it's legal. And so, no, they made me an activist, and now I became, in a lot of ways, their worst nightmare, because it is legal. It's becoming legal all over the world now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if it didn't impact your business, which I'm glad in a negative way, you'd mentioned that once in an interview that the first time you smoked, it was sort of like a light coming on. I'm curious. How has pot kind of influenced your creative process?
Well, pot affects the brain, and it stimulates the brain. It's a great brain stimulator, which is for centuries. It's been written about in the Bible. There's been a lot of talk about the burning bush, for sure. Because Moses, Moses talked to the burning bush, and so marijuana really does affect the brain. And we have receptors, and so it really, if you're on the right track, it will stimulate whatever. It'll stimulate the brain, whatever you're doing. If you're robbing a bank, it'll make you a better bank robber. If you're, doing whatever you're doing, music, anything, because it makes the brain more receptive, I think, to that old thing where they say the memory's bad. You have a bad memory. Well, what happens when you smoke? You get put in the moment. Now, if you are in the moment, there's a lot of times you will forget your wife's name or your boyfriend's name because you're so in the moment that your brain is just dealing with whatever you're doing, and that it doesn't allow you to drift, into say other thoughts. Now, it works on a negative thing too. Like if you're on a negative trip, sometimes it's not a good idea to get high unless you want to go through that negative trip, full force. And I've done that. I've been on some negative trips and then smoke a little pot and it makes it worse. And so, which is why I really go to my spiritual books. As soon as those negative thoughts appear, I break out all my, a couple of my spiritual books and just read a passage or two, and then I'm okay.
Oh, I like that. And did you find, I know you had used it during your cancer bouts. Was that kind of a negative trip for you? Did it amplify those feelings, or did it have the opposite effect?
Strangely enough, my whole cancer thing, it was because I had close people to me, that had prostate cancer. And it was a prostate cancer. Some of it is very slow acting. And they always tell you, oh, you'll die of old age before you die of that. And so I that was the prostate cancer that I had. And then I tried to change my diet and quit drinking and all that good stuff. And then I ended up with rectal cancer. And even then, when I got rectal cancer, I never got negative. I never got down. It's weird, because it was like I was going through a fight with cancer and using marijuana as a weapon. And in the end, I had to use the normal methods. I had the operation, and I have a colostomy bag, installed, and all that, all that traditional medicine. But the pot also made me aware that the traditional way, in a lot of ways, is better than just going all out holistic.
Really?
Because that holistic thing can fool you. Because there is no power that people rely on, get the healing powers. A lot of the healing, this is my take on it. A lot of the healing that takes place was taking place anyway. And so, like, these healers, sometimes they're not always 100%. In fact, they're probably 50-50, if anything, like everything. And so what I learned is that the marijuana affected my brain to the point where I knew how to get the best cancer doctor, the best medicine, the best of everything, be it chemo, be it radiation, whatever it took to beat it. And so my attitude was never doomsday. It was always very, it was a challenge, and I was talking the talk for so many years, and then now I had to walk the walk, and so I come out of it really well. I'm almost back to being 100% now.
That's so great to hear. Yeah, I was watching your performance on the Masked Singer. It looks like you feel great.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
It was such a thrill being a lead singer. First time in my life, that I jumped on stage as a singer.
Yeah, I know you.
And it was another challenge.
I thought you really embraced it. It was fun to watch, and
I loved it. I loved having to learn a song. I loved having the dancers dance around me.
And I know
it was a dream come true.
You played guitar for a while too. Do you still do that?
Oh yeah, we do shows. I still play a little bit more than for a while there. No, I'm still into the guitar.
Oh, good. Good. I think music is good for the soul.
Oh, there again, marijuana and music, they're inseparable.
Right. We hope you've been enjoying today's Cannabis and Tech Talks. Thanks for listening. We wanted to take a quick break to mention this episode's brought to you by Emerald Scientific. They're on a mission to give the cannabis industry access to proper scientific equipment for all of their cultivation, production, and quality assurance needs. Emerald Scientific also hosts the annual Emerald Conference, the most advanced technical and comprehensive science conference in the industry. The 6th annual Emerald Conference will be held February 26th through the 29th, 2020. To learn more, visit emeraldscientific.com. And I'm curious, I know through Chong's Choice, you've been able to share a lot of your favorite products with people all over the world. Why has that been so important to you? Why is it an important mission?
Well, we're not only sharing product with the customers, but more importantly, we're part of the industry, because our situation is that the people work for themselves, and we're just partners. So everybody that works for me, they're like a partner with me. And what they do, we have a nice setup, but what they do, they do the sales and pay me a royalty for using my name and our packaging. And so we don't, as a company, we have little to no overhead.
Oh, how cool!
And so everything is shared. It's a shared work environment. And the harder you work, the more money you make. And that's, to me, that's the American way,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. And I know, for a long time, it seemed like stoners were kind of an easy target for ridicule. Do you feel like you're treated with more respect now that legalization is kind of sweeping the country?
Oh, incredible respect. Incredible. In fact, for a while there, I was the go-to guy for Fox News, for Bill O'Reilly when he was still there, Barney. They would have me on because I would piss off their viewers so much that the ratings just went through the roof. And so the funny thing is, Cheech and I were never on Saturday Night Live. We were never recognized, because we were potheads. Mm. And now that it's legal, we don't need any of it. We never did, And so, I once said, and Cheech quotes this all the time. He loves what I said. They were talking to us about, the evils, the pot, and the young kids and all that bullshit. And so I said, hey, what if we're right? What if they find out that marijuana is a medicine and it cures a lot of diseases? And sure enough, Sandra Gupta of CNN, showed that picture of that video of that baby with epilepsy hugging her mom for the first time, a year old. She wasn't a stoner, but she had epilepsy, and the THC and the CBD oil cured it. Mm-hmm. Not just helped it, but cured it. As long as she's got her CBD, and I've seen a lot of people with autism, with Alzheimer's, all sorts of ailments function, and MS function. There's Montel Williams. He has MS so bad, if he didn't smoke pot every day, he'd be in a wheelchair. Mm. So it is a medicine, and I was right.
Yeah, I love that example. And it was, stigmatized for so long, and you and Cheech played these characters that were sort of the archetypes of the stoner. Do you think that playing that role helped or hurt the conversation around cannabis?
Oh, come on, it helped immensely. Immensely. I just saw a movie with Jennifer Gardner where she had O'Reilly Norton, I think it's called. She plays this mother that had to kill all the bad Chicano gang members because they murdered her husband and her little child. Well, that was the stereotypical or stereotype they had on Latinos. Like Donald Trump right now, he wants to build a wall to keep out the gang members. He tries to demonize Mexicans, and that's why they made it illegal in the beginning. They wanted a racist law to have, to keep the influx of, give them a reason to go after people of color and people, brown people, Mexican people. Mm-hmm. And so they come up with this cockamamie marijuana bullshit. And, and it's a racist law, and it still is. So what Cheech and I did, we showed the so-called gang member as Cheech, just like having a good time playing music, singing. He's a musician, singer, and same as me. Up in Smoke, I play a rich kid that was a hippie and a drummer, and he was doing every kind of drug he could find. but it was marijuana was his drug of choice. And so what Cheech and I did is we changed the perception of Latinos, and forever. I mean, we changed it. Now, people look at Latinos and they see Cheech, and they look at hippies and they see me. And we're not only harmless, we help people. Like I said, with my company, Chong's Choice, we employ people. There's a lot of people that are, paying their mortgages and paying off their car debt because they work for Chong's Choice. And so, we've always been positive, and we just passed that on. And even the law enforcement. When I was in prison, I was treated so well. I had more power than the warden. We were shooting a documentary in the warden's office, and just as a joke, I yelled out, "Quiet, we're shooting here." and I had the warden, I had everybody tiptoeing around on tiptoes, not talking to each other.
That's wild.
It was something to see. No, when you're right, you're right. And that's all there is to it. And I got criticized on social media, there's a couple of guys that troll me. And one guy said, "Oh, Chong, you used to be a nice guy and now you're so political." Well, I haven't answered him back, and I doubt if I will, but to answer that question is that I've always been political my whole life. Mm-hmm. I was raised in Canada, Calgary, as half Chinese. And then I found out later that I'm 8% Native. So not only half Chinese, I'm part Indian and the rest Caucasian. And so I've always been a hybrid and dealing with race issues all my life. And I'll die dealing with them because they're not going to change, Mm-hmm. That's the way the world is. But, that's what I say to all the critics, just watch a movie, listen to an album, don't criticize till you know what you're talking about.
Do you think that's why storytelling is such an important part of your life? I mean, I know you've written so many films and you even, inspired the Wolf of Wall Street to write down his memoirs.
Yeah.
Do you think telling that story is, become really vital to who you are?
Absolutely. We joked one time, Cheech did. And they said something about Chicanos, and she says, "No, actually, I'm Iranian." Well, we got the best response from the Iranian community that you could ever imagine.
Oh, wow.
They were just so delighted that Cheech and Chong was, or the Cheech was Iranian. And what's the difference? We're all human, And so we could have been anybody, but except there's the Nazis, and there, and what I found out too is that there's more hatred for Jews of all colors.
Really,
the Jews, and Farrakhan's talking about calling them termites, and there's the Holocaust and Holocaust deniers and the Trump people, they're all, and it's a mythology. The Jews were the first race to recognize the one universal spiritual God, and then they got co-opted by the Romans. They stole them. They stole Jesus. They not only massacred and tortured and strung Jesus up, but then they stole them. And they made him immaculate, so that he wouldn't be from a Jewish parent. He had to be from God, a son of God. And that rumor that myth that still abounds around the world. He was a Jew. He was called a rabbi. He was executed because they called him the king of Jews. And the only reason they executed him was that the priest, the high priest of the Jewish religion, kind of gave him up because he was interfering. He was telling everybody that everybody's equal. And there was such a radical idea at the time that they had him murdered. And then the Catholics, see, Jesus was never a Catholic. He was never a Christian. He didn't even know the name Christian.
Right.
That came way later. He was a Jew. They're all Jews. And that's fine. Because even the Jews, you know, in their people, they have racism. Right in the Jewish community. You know, the Hasidim, you know, they look down on the other non-practicing Jews, as they call themselves. It's so silly. It's so ridiculous. Because we are all one. That's what all the religions teach you. You know, we are all one. And there's but one spiritual God. And and what they fail to realize, every religion tries to co-opt it and say, this is the way, this is the only way. And no, you can't own, it cracked me up too, because I read in Twitter that Donald Trump really amazed the evangelicals. I said, of course, he's one of them. Yeah. They're all hucksters. They're all showmen. They're all out there selling religion for a buck. You're never supposed to do that. You don't sell anybody their birthright for money, because then you're lying and you're doing the worst sin possible. And the thing is, with me, I don't condemn anybody. I don't condemn Donald Trump. I don't condemn anybody, because everybody's here for a reason. And the reason Donald Trump is the president is because we do need to clean out our system. We need to clean out the hypocrisy and the corruption. And who better than the king of corruption himself to show us where the bodies are, where the enemies are.
Wow. And yeah, that's a good point.
It's going to be such a beautiful world, and we can thank Donald Trump for it. He'll go down in history as the one that changed. Well, he got all those women elected. If it wasn't for Donald Trump, there wouldn't have been a woman elected.
Wow.
But Donald came along and he did all this stuff, and so next thing you know, you got the House of Representatives all women.
That's
and
so
it's
true.
going to keep going like that. So you can't, you can't get upset. You just got to realize that this is the way the world works.
I love that. Yeah, it reminds me of I think the Buddha said, the minute you feel anger in an argument, you've stopped looking for the truth. So I can appreciate your perspective on that a lot. Yeah.
Well, look at the Buddha. He was an Indian prince. He was an Indian prince that figured it out.
All right.
He goes, this is an illusion. The real world is the spiritual world. Yeah, because the real world never, there was no beginning, no end. In the physical world, it's a school, basically. We're all going to school in the physical world. And that's why you can't down anybody. I did a movie once called Zootopia.
Yeah.
And I learned so much from that movie because they had all the animals in there. And what it showed was that every animal had a place in society. And when, the hippos were, and the elephants, and the rhinos, and the lions, and the sloths, and the rats, and the weasels, and the rabbits, they all exist on this earth, and they're all part of it. And that's the same as humans. Big, small, little, brown, black, white, doesn't matter. We're all here for a little while, and then we're gone, and then we come back.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And speaking of sort of that everybody has their place and their role to play. I'm curious, if you could choose to smoke with anyone right now, is there someone in particular that maybe you'd like to spend some time with and get high with?
It would be Paul McCartney.
And have you smoked with him before? I know you had smoked with some of the Beatles.
No. Paul's on my bucket list. He's the only Beatle that I'm I smoked in front or in the presence of Ringo. Ringo was on rehab, so he never smoked. I smoked in the presence of John Lennon. He again had immigration problems, so he turned down my offer. But I smoked out with George Harrison a number of times, and we were pretty good friends. And so the only Beatle that is missing is Paul. I haven't even met Paul yet, and I know all about him, and he knows that I want to smoke with him, and he's all ready for it.
Oh, good. I hope that works out.
Oh, it will. Don't push it.
Well, I've really enjoyed talking with you, Tommy. I think that about wraps it up for me. Is there anything you'd like me to take away from our talk that maybe I didn't hit on?
Well, the only thing I always tell people is that I wouldn't be who I am or what I am or where I am if it wasn't for my wife, Shelby. Because Shelby is my muse. She was sent to me by the divine to take me on this journey. Before I met her, I was lost. But as soon as I met her and listened to her counsel and advice and enjoyed her beauty, which I still do, so everything I am is because of her.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thanks for sharing that, Tommy.
Okay, dear.
Well, it was a real pleasure, and I look forward to putting this together. And if you or your team have any questions, I think they know how to reach me. So I hope the rest of your day is just wonderful.
Okay, I'm looking forward to reading it.
All right. Thanks, Tommy. You take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Cannabis Tech Talks. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I enjoyed speaking with Tommy. If you liked this podcast, feel free to share, and be sure to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to check out our website, cannatechtoday.com.